Okay, we are into game 2 here now. Or, sorry, game 3. What am I even saying, game 2? Game 3 of TKAG versus Sweet Super Sirs here, and we're tied 1-1, obviously. Yeah, that's why we have a game 3. Two really solid games being played so far. Game 1 was extremely well played by both sides. Game 2, some mistakes made, I think, by TKAG, leading to quite a long, almost an hour-long victory there in favor of Sweet Super Sirs, who made fewer mistakes, really. They didn't I mean, they weren't perfect. They played very well. I'm not saying that they didn't, but I think Game 1 was extremely good. Extremely well played by both sides. And Game 2, perhaps some interesting decisions made by TKOG that allowed the door to be opened there for Sweet Super Sirs, and they certainly took advantage of it and closed it out where they win. So we are now in Game 3. As I said, Scout Warby's Kraken and Keeper of the Forest here, as Kraken gets banned over Ophelia in this situation, but once again, those 3 suicides being taken out. Not a huge surprise there. Nothing in the ban pool that makes no sense to me. Kraken, not really on my list of the top 4 heroes to ban, but I can certainly understand why you would want to get rid of him. Powerful hero, tanks well, does a lot of stuff in team fights, very versatile, ganks pretty well, so getting rid of him at this point is not that questionable, or not really questionable at all. And we're moving really fast here, as both sides are thankfully not deciding to use all their extra time at this point. Grinix Engineer, the 2 picks for Sweet Super Sirs, as they're deciding to go with 2 of the heroes they used last game in their win. Grinix obviously a suicide hero. Engineer almost certainly be played middle in that dual main role with an Initiator, and we'll see what they choose to pick up to put with him. I would suspect it's somebody with a stun. Last time we saw some weird laning actually with the pseudo tri-lane aggressive with Magnus, NG, and Parasite in the jungle, which sort of dissolved relatively early, and it's the Parasite as well, so Legion apparently feeling like they should play the exact same lineup that they did last game, because it did work pretty well, and so far they certainly have the ability to do that if they want to. Hellborn's lineup at this point, substantially different, and I think for the better. Bubbles, Tundra, and Moon Queen, so obviously Bubbles pretty certainly going to be in that suicide role, Tundra in mid, and Moon Queen in the short lane. And I like MQ as a carry a lot more than Silhouette. I think if they had had the MQ, they probably could have done a better job of winning that game. She pushes much better than Silhouette does. They had some issues breaking base. They just weren't really confident with stepping up to the tower and doing a bunch of damage to it, and as a result, they really had some opportunities that went by the wayside because they weren't able to take towers and take racks. And eventually Hellborn were able to do that much better than they were, thanks to, in large part to Flint's range, so he doesn't have to sit there and take damage. You can just siege the tower. Moon Queen obviously much more adept at killing towers, killing bases, and certainly much more adept than Silhouette at taking team fights. So certainly a little bit stronger in terms of single target damage, but MQ with the bounces and with the ultimate, much better at spread damage. Tundra obviously a strong ganker. Not too much, they didn't have too much of that, too much lockdown last game. He has a nice stun in that Avalanche. Of course, Moonbeam with the Moon Queen with the Moonbeam has a stun as well. Last game, they just did not have stuns. They couldn't lock people down. They were really squishy. They couldn't absorb any damage. Tundra will help with that on both counts. So Hellborn's side, I think, looking a lot better than they did last game. Certainly a little more predictable, because they ended up running some strange stuff last game, like the Slither support and Suicide Hag, so despite them picking really 3 farmers in the beginning, they had some interesting plays, but a little more predictable, but a little more powerful here for Hellborn's side, so we'll see how that works out for them. Obviously, Legion doing more or less the same thing they did last game, and so not that surprising that they would want to go back to a strat that worked, instead taking Pestilence this time over that Magnus, and I like that a lot. Pestilence, I think, a better initiator than Magnus, not quite as good at teamfight because he does not have an AoE ultimate, but much better, a better ganker, a better semi-carry, so he'll provide a little more late game potential for this Legion side, and they probably won't have to go with a carry quite as hard as Flint. Perhaps getting something that can do a little more in the mid game and isn't as, big a risk. Bans here are Empath, Tempest, and Ophelia from the Legion side. As no surprise, they take out the junglers, figuring we have a Parasite, we have the jungle. There's no reason to let you get a jungler too. So we'll take out both the junglers and a support, because we have our support and you don't have any of yours yet, and presumably they're going to need 2 over here on Hellborn. I hope they go stunners. Please go stunners. Didn't work last game with the... Okay, that's interesting. That's sort of a stunner. Hellborn's bans are Pebbles, Ravener, and Wretched Hag. No surprise to take out the Pebbles and Ravener, as those are strong pairs for Engineer. Pestilence is though as well, and in the game 1 when they picked up engineers like Pestilence, Flux, those kind of heroes are the ones that make me think, oh, that's going to be really good lane with NG, so Pesty certainly fits that mold. Kinesis going to be the last pick here. I don't like that. I don't like that at all. This is now looking like we're going to see a Suicide Kinesis. It could be. Well, we'll see what they do, but that's interesting too. Anyway, bans make sense for both sides. Pestilence, obviously a great pick on number 4. Kinesis, not so much. Because now this is looking like a carry Pesty, and I really don't like that. It's been tried by a couple of teams, and it has had some success. But Pestilence, to me, is more of a semi-carry. He's too valuable in that initiator role to waste a lot of time letting him rice. He wants to be in ganks and fighting a lot because he does remain a very powerful hero through pretty much all of the game. And so having him limited to not being able to fight because like, oh, I gotta go but farm. I gotta build up my GPM so I can carry this game is not really the correct path for me. And Kinesis, heavy magical burst damage hero. They already have one of those in Parasite, so that's really an overlapping role. He will give them a decent enough stun, which is nice, but he doesn't provide that much in teamfight. He's pretty much entirely single target. And Parasite's just so similar to that hero that it'll be nice to be able to put those two together and pick them up, but they already had that combination in Grinix and Parasite. So Grinix and Parasite could run through everything and basically kill all of it. There's no reason to put a Kinesis on top of that, and he's going to be running that Suicide role, which I also don't like because, you know, we've seen Suicide Kinesis a few times. It's been mildly successful occasionally, but it's not really the greatest Suicide ever. And if you have Grinix, who is a very strong Suicide, it doesn't make a lot of sense to me to pick up a Kinesis and say, okay, you're going to go Suicide, because Grinix is just a better Suicide than Kinesis is. So the decision to pick up Kinesis here, really, really questionable. They're honestly really limiting themselves because of the Moon Queen on the Hellborn side. This is not, they have no late game potential. It's not like last game where they had the Flint, so even though it seemed like Legion had a little more late game character potential, it's not like Hellborn were out of it at this point. Pesty will do some stuff late game. Parasite will be less effective. Grinix has some solid semi-carry potential. Not as much as Pesty, but he does do a fair bit of damage. Kinesis doesn't really carry. So they're going to have to win this relatively quickly. On the Hellborn side, they pick up the Myrmidon and Behemoth, so two supports that we almost never see. It is worth noting that they have the X here, so I really wouldn't be surprised to see a Tri-Lane. Especially because Moon Queen can hold her own up against the Kinesis, and it looks like it's going to be a short lane Bubbles and a mid Tundra with a Moon Queen aggressive Tri-Lane, so I actually quite like this. Moon Queen in this Tri-Lane would be extremely powerful, setting people up with a Moonbeam and then into the Fissure and into the Weed Field. So Grinix down here, despite the Rift Stock, could be in a lot of trouble just because of the amount of lockdown that they have on Hellborn. In middle, Tundra going to be boxed out quite a lot because of the Engineer here, but should be mostly okay. Not strong, super strong defensively, but with the Piercing Shards and the Pets, he should be able to grab a couple CS, enough to get his bottle in a fair degree of time. Kegstein just going to hit Engineer, not Tundra. Up top, we have Bubbles, a strongly defensive support. Meanwhile, already massive Baboon Falls. There's this Fissure and the Weed Field and the Moonbeam. Oh look, you're dead. Look at that, you're dead. So Grinix is going to get nothing down here. Absolutely nothing. And especially once they start putting rewards down, it's like you can't even go invis anymore. So Moon Queen should have a very, very, very good time down here. Grinix porting back, and we'll get Sniper CS with a hatchet, but I'm not really feeling this lane here from the Legion side. And I think their saving grace here is going to be this Parasite and the ability to gank, particularly in middle, as he has gone for his own jungle, but certainly much more gank potential in mid. Fissure goes down, we'll stop him a little bit there, but it's not too much. And Hellborn to get lane control here as they pull the wave back up to the creeps. They're actually going to bring it under the tower here, so that's a bit of a mistake. But it will still give them a fair degree of lane control over here to the side. And Tundra's actually doing fairly well in mid, level 3, getting occasional CS up top. You've got Bubbles at 3 and Kinesis at 2. Let's look at the stats here, and 3 and 3 on Kinesis compared to a 6 and 2 on Bubbles. So Bubbles certainly winning this lane, not that surprising. As, sorry, meanwhile on bot TPS Priceless does die, so he's looking for the stun, but Leech coming out just enough. There's a Carp there, will avoid the weed field. And they're looking for a drop on Phoenix here, but he does have the Rich Stock available soon. There it is, and he will be alright. Actually, nice Moonbeam there, and the Carp following him, so they know where he is. Piercing Shard's going out, so he could be in some trouble. Health Pot gets cancelled, and he's going to die to Ancients here. So, good suicide there, but still a death, and Moon Queen is going to use that time to farm this bottom lane. So we'll see what Legion does here, but they need to have a really, really, really good start in this laning phase if they don't want to lose this game extremely quickly. Because, I mean, as much mid-game as Legion has, Hellborns isn't that bad. They've got Behemoth, who's powerful. Myrmidon's fairly powerful, so is Tundra. Bubbles has some stuff. Moon Queen doesn't really get going until a bit later, but she's not a complete pushover in the mid-game, especially just because of that ultimate. Just because whenever it's up, it's hard to jump her because you need to get the kill relatively fast before all those moonbeams come out, and all of a sudden she does a ton of damage to you and your gank squad. So, and really, the only hefty gankier here on Legion's side is Pestilence. Some inherent defense from Kinesis will help out a bit, but it's not going to turn him into a tank by any means. He's annoying to kill, but it's not like he just sits there and absorbs damage. Okay, he does sort of do that. Regardless, I'm just, two good drafts here from Sweet Superstars, and this one doesn't feel like one. It feels like they had options that were much better than what they did, both in the draft and in the lane phase. They've consistently been a little weird about that. Their lanes have been certainly atypical, and just not stuff you'd expect, which is good. Like it's good when you can't predict the opposing team's lanes. It's less good when that's all it is. Like, you can't just have unpredictable lanes, you need to have good lanes. So, it's like, oh, we sent a Rhapsody Glacius bottom. I wasn't expecting that. Moonbeam and Weedfield would hit on top of the Fissure Sun, but he gets the Ripstock off, Dust goes off, and this is still going to be a death anyway. Moonbeam taking a much damage there, actually will die first, and Grinix now is going to get away. Weedfield goes out, does connect, not enough, as he has like 20 health now. Leech onto Behemoth, looking for a spike there. And he takes the creep to avoid the Carp stun and manages to kill TPS points. So nicely played there from Sweet Superstars. And this is what they need to do. So if they can manage to continue to shut down this Moon Queen, and so far they're doing a pretty solid job of it. MQ has 245 gold, puts the Moonbeam there, and the Weedfield will connect. Random or what falls on top. Let's watch this first though. So certainly death there on Parasite easy, and now there's the Shell Surf and the double damage. Helping out for the kill on top. So, DD Bubbles coming in will clean up his opponent. And that's another problem with Kinesis. No escape mechanism, no, he has a stun, but no slow. So if the Shell Surf comes in, now Tundra getting in a lot of trouble over here in the middle, looking for a Gore block is Pesty. Of course, doesn't have Gore, so that's going to be a bit of an issue, but the Flight's going to allow him to catch Tundra here and get the kill. So, not the greatest series of events coming out, but yeah, wow, Engineer did not have a lot of health. He's at 39 despite walking all the way back. So Tundra going a little aggressive there and pays for it, but not terrible. I'm trying to kill this Wild Hunter so Parasite can't use it. As Moon Queen, you can basically take free farm here because Grinix is just can't go to this lane. 191 gold per minute here on Grinix as their short laner is a bit of an issue. 351 on Moon Queen. So she's recovered pretty well. Now she's the top farm in the game. Over here, Parasite getting caught out a little bit. Now Pestilence getting caught by the Weedfield. Piercing Charge will finish him off, so well done. Now the supports over here, Face Hug on top of the Leech, and looking for a getaway. There goes the waveform. Now he's going to pay for this. Weedfield goes out, does not catch anybody, and he's going to die. Bubbles over here. Dust of Revelation going off. I don't think that hit him. It did, in fact. Bubbles is hasted, looking for a pick here, but no kill field and won't be able to do anything. Throws a shell surf off. A bunch of damage there on Grenix, but not going to be enough. Weedfield not going to connect. MQ continues to just free-farm this bottom lane, which is a bit of an issue. Legion have abandoned their short lane to a Moon Queen. That's not going to end well. Parasite over here looking for a jump. More Wild Hunters. He's been pretty lucky on that. And now Myrmidon's just dead. So that's a bit of a problem. That's one of the issues with Myrmidon is just she's so damn squishy. Lots of lockdown, but they're fairly high mana costs. Not that big an issue because her starting mana pool is really high, but not too much regen, and will die fairly quickly if you manage to lock her down. Him, her, whatever. Bubbles up top getting dual-laned here as Grenix is roaming a lot. And I honestly don't even like this because this, man. But honestly, both teams are running short laners that I don't like. I don't like Bubbles in the short lane. I don't like Grenix in the short lane. It doesn't make any sense to me to put a hero that doesn't necessarily need a lot of farming. Meanwhile, Tundra getting jumped on in mid, puts the piercing charge out, but he's not going to get NG, and he will pay for that. Bubble sporting middle, looking for a jump here. Puts the shell surf on Engineer, and Engineer is now going to die. Kegsten does not hit. Leech is there. Looking for the face hug as well, and now Bubbles is dead, so nice cleanup there by Parasite, managing to get a 2-for-1 as NG trades his life for Bubbles, certainly in favor of the Legion team. Bot tower going to get pushed in here, will be killed.
A Legion tower.
And the 8-minute rune going to be guarded by Parasite. It will be top. Regen. So slight gold here for the Hellborn side, as their farm has understandably been better considering they're running the dual support, but the Legion have an experienced lead, as we tend to see when they run a jungler. And I guess the issue I have with this is just that, I mean, Hellborn need to, or at least our Legion need to have a really strong start. Regen rune is actually not gotten yet, 30 seconds after. A little surprising. And if Legion don't have a really good start of the laning phase, then they're not going to be able to transition to mid-game as well. So they still might take a lead in the mid-game, but they have to take a big enough lead to take the win in the mid-game, really, because they're not going to compete in the late game with this Moon Queen. She's just going to become too powerful, because Moon Queen does that. Pearson Shards using from some CS there is Tundra. Has some backup here in the middle with both Myrmidon and Bubbles looking for counter initiation if Tundra gets jumped. Up top, T-Grass Price is going to fall to Kinesis as he drops a bunch of stuff. And there's the mass control. Just so much damage. Energizer popped, and now they're going to look for a jump on Kinesis, but he's going to pour it out, so he'll be alright. No ward there, I guess, just feeling like it's not worth staying. And he's going to quickly realize that was a very good decision. So gold is really just fantastically even, and Legion have an experienced lead, so that's good. I think they're going to need to take a little bit more than this as we start to transition out of the laning phase. Lots of rotation coming out from the Hellborn, as well as the Legion. And they're looking for a tower push up top. It's interesting, I noticed Pangolin there is, sorry, no. That's not Pangolin, it's Jade Monkey there. What am I even talking about? Parasite over here looking for a jump. There's all sorts of stuff coming out on Moon Queen, and she's going to fall here, despite the Energizer pop. Easily killed. It's just a little squishy at this point, obviously. Rune is bought his illusions. And he seems to be going for it. Tundra finally heading in that direction. And Grenix is farming the jungle. Mid tower going to be heavily pressured here by Bubbles and Myrmidon. As Hellborn are really taking the attempt to kill these towers, knowing that if they kill all these towers, of course, that's going to open up a lot of map control for them. Rev Ward and Ward of Sight spawning on Grenix here. Just Avalanche there onto Parasite. He's going to take a lot of damage and fall pretty quickly here. Kelfield going on to 2 as well. Bubble's going to take a ton of damage and die. As off to the side, Moon Queen dropping a Moonbeam there onto Grenix. He's going to try to run away. No Rift Stock there. Stasis Smash there. But Kelfield will catch Grenix. Moonbeam ultimate coming out. Going to finish off Curse. And Nasty Baboon also following up top to the Myrmidon. And that's going to be a 3-for-1 there as they pick off Grenix, Parasite, and Engineer for just the bubbles. This is what I'm concerned about right here. 361 GPM on Moon Queen isn't bad, but the fact that she's so far ahead of everybody on the Legion side is a big problem. They need to have a much better start than this, not just in terms of the high-end GPM. I mean, 310 on Parasite is really not that good, especially considering he was a dual lane against Tundra, who was at 245, so like it's not really worth it. Mid tower will be in deny range now, and it looks like Engineer will be able to deny it. So that's 2 towers down in favor of Hellborn. Meanwhile on bot, Parasite looking for a jump onto Behemoth. I don't think he'll find it.
Ain't nobody killing that tower.
There's the face hug, but here comes Tundra in for this. There's the cold shoulder, and he's continuing to juke. Has the fissure available soon. There's the avalanche, and the fissure stun not even going to go off as Jade Monkey gets the last hit with a moonbeam, I believe. So Epic Slacker taking a little too long there to try to kill that Behemoth, and the support came in from the Hellborn team. Engineer going to grab bot Rune, as it is a haste, and he's fast. Pesty in mid, getting collapsed on a little bit here. Here's Bubbles, and Bubbles has a kelp field, so there it goes, and Pesty will take the kelp field stun there and be able to run away. Bugs go on to Bubbles, but he's not going to be able to take cover of them, in fact. Triple Ancients here, going to be done by Moon Queen. And she has just the Hungry Spirit. Bubbles helping out a little bit. This is becoming a sort of a problem for her. It's a little difficult for her to tank, but once she gets them, it'll be nice. Bubbles sniping a couple there in the meantime. Gotta be careful there, MQ. He actually gets one there. So now 4 heroes over here finishing off these Ancients. And MQ's farm will fly up to that nearly 400 gold per minute. Once again, nobody on Legion is doing that well. Pesty at 300, 250 on Parasite, 230 on Kinesis, and 220 on Grenix. Now, I mean, if you're a Grenix and you're 220 gold per minute, like, that's not that big a deal. You're pretty okay with that. The problem is short lane Grenix at 220 gold per minute. Now, he's going to get chased down a little bit here, but probably won't die. Bubbles coming in for some support anyway, as obviously the wards are down and they see them coming in. Pestilence picking up this portal key, so that's going to be very helpful for their initiation, but it's 14 minutes in now. And Hellborn have shown consistently that they will support their team. So, while pretty much everybody remains a solid pick-off target for Legion, it's going to be a little difficult for them to get multiple picks. Maybe they get one or here or there, but there's a pretty solid chance they get turned around on. They've had a couple of initiations where they've tried to get picks and failed and lost a couple of heroes. Gold lead now substantially in favor of Hellborn at 2,500 gold, and Legion still have an experience lead, but not by that much, so I'm just... It frustrates me a little bit with these extremely mid-game oriented teams, because it seems like, A, they don't generally work. I think they did for a while, but teams have figured out how to play against this, and it's just you play conservatively. You know, like if you have a late game here and you don't have the mid game or the early game, then you try you try to win your lanes, and if you do, that's great. You're in a really, really good position because the opposing team sort of has to win their lanes in order to win the game, because they need to get a good start to go into the mid game and start picking off heroes. Myrmidon going to get stasis smashed here, but Tundra's here as well. Fissure on top of the wheat field, and there goes Kinesis. Actually going to drop the B ult as well. Probably not necessary, but Tundra looking for a pick also on Grenix. Not going to happen. So like I said, looking for a gank there with Kinesis and Grenix, who have high burst damage, but Invis Tundra's right there, and they get turned around on, Kinesis dies, and all of a sudden it's failed gank that pushes the gold lead more in favor of Hellborn. Up top, Parasite going to get jumped here by the Shell Surf and the Song of the Sea, and he's going to die in a half a second.
Massacre.
But anyway, it's just like these mid-game teams, they don't work that well, and it doesn't seem like they're even executing them that well. Like when Stay Green used to do this, they would have been 5-manning for probably the last couple of minutes at this point. They would have won their lanes because their team's skill is that high. Like they have players who are that much better than their opponents. looking for a jump here on Moon Queen, and she's screwed. Pesty jumps in with the Impale. Kinesis is dragging all the units, and that's just a dead Moon Queen. So that's going to happen every so often, because the burst damage here on Legion is just that powerful, and if they bring 4 heroes, you're going to die. And this is what they should be doing. But like I was saying, when State Green was running these, they win their lane, so they get themselves a good advantage going into the mid game, which was nice and very important. But they'd also, when you hit that 10, 11 minute mark and you're starting to transition out of the laning phase, it would be gank central. First of all, it'd be, we're going to pick you and pick you and pick you, and we're going to take a tower. Then we're going to pick 2 more of you and take a tower. Then we're going to pick 2 more of you and take a tower. And by 20 minutes, they'd have 5 towers dead. Now this is the first tier 1 tower that Legion would take. And at this point, that needs to be like the 2nd or 3rd. It's 12 to 11 hero kills, and they're getting picked off as much as they are getting picks. So, because like this is not a team that's going to out-farm their opponents. This is not a situation where we need to be ricing. Like sitting here and going, okay, we're just going to soak up the farm, we'll farm the jungle, etc. If you do that, then Hellborn are like, thank you, we'll do that too, and we have a Moon Queen, so we win the game now, because you're not going to compete with us in farm, first of all. We can farm faster than you can. Secondly, we can do more with our farm than you can because we have late game carries. Up here, MQ perhaps in some more trouble as 3 heroes are in here. Going for the Riftstock. Kinesis dropping everything. MQ, oh god, he missed. Not going to matter as MQ is still just dead, but Mass Control missing there actually went onto the creep wave. So clearly Hellborn needs some wards up here in their jungle because they have no wards there. They've only got 1 of the rune here and 1 aggressively in the Legion jungle, but with 2 supports here, they probably should have a couple more wards done at this point in the game. And the Tundra Hawk for that matter. So a little bit of a vision failure there, just not having the appropriate coverage to protect Moon Queen, because she really should be able to farm that without being in too much danger at this point. And Rev Ward going down there. And so they're starting to ward it up now. Of course, Rev Ward's at a couple entrances up here, making sure MQ is not going to be in as much danger as she's been. So that's good. Like, that's the sort of thing that this Legion team needs to do consistently. The problem is they're still down in resources. So it's great that they're doing that right. Bubble's now going to be in some trouble here. Puts the take cover down, and the Fissure Stun plus the Kelp Field, and this might actually save him. Kodak's going off as well. Kelp Field going to go out, and he's going to be alright. So it's a bit of a problem because of how many heroes it takes for the Legion to kill somebody. It's taking 2 or 3 at least. And with the fact that despite they're getting all these picks, they're still not getting a resource advantage. And ultimately that's the point of this, is to turn a bunch of hero kills into a tower kill, into a resource advantage, into a base push, into a win. And so right now what they're turning this into, they're turning a hero pick into basically nothing, because they lose their... they're getting their money from it, but they're not farming as well in general as the opposing team, so it doesn't really matter. And they're not getting tower kills out of it, and they're not really advancing their way through this game in any meaningful fashion. Up top, Behemoth pushing in this wave. This tower's going to take a bunch of damage, but he's going to back the hell off. BK away from Pesty, so tower will be put in deny range thanks to the Hell Cannon and a couple of archers. Behemoth over here looking for it there. Actually, still gets deny off there, so well done by Kinesis. Didn't actually get stunned by the Fissure, so it's less than impressive, but or it's less impressive than it was. But we'll be alright. Behemoth porting out to avoid the Grinix. Rev Ward going to counter the ward from Legion, or Hellborn, and Hellborn should now be aware that their vision has been lost somewhat, and they should be able to de-ward that. Bottom, meanwhile, Parasite perhaps going to be the focus of a gank here. But the Kelp Field, nope. Hawk actually saw him, so interesting that Bubbles chose not to stop the TP there. Oh, it's a fake, that's why. Explain some stuff. Legion side looking for a jump on Hellborn, roaming through their woods, but won't find it, as the Legion are doing pretty much the same thing. Over here in mid, Parasite once again the focus as MQ just continues to take all these Ancients, man. He's been over here for a long time. Just massively increasing his farm. Extremely safe farming too. There's a fake bubbles once again. He'll get Rift stocked, but that's it. And now it looks like they're looking for an initiation here. Dust goes out, does not hit Grinix. Actually it did. Avalanche there on top of that. He's going to be alright though. Fissure Stun and Kelpfield will stop NG. He's in some trouble. Impel Stun on a Tundra and he's going to get died with it. Grinix goes out, sorry. Engineer dies first. Now Behemoth's in some trouble. Trying to get the kill onto Grinix, but it's not going to happen. Hellborn side on the retreat. Kinesis trying to chase somebody down, but it's not possible. A little too fast. Jump back in over here. His bubbles does pick off Grinix. Ends up being a 3 for 2 there in exchange, or in favor of Hellborn. Push book in from Kinesis, but not going to find him as Bubbles ports away. So. We're a little low there, but Pesty nowhere nearby. And the rest of the jump potential from Legion, not that great without Pesty and Grinix or Parasite. It's like, eh. So 15 to 14 hero kills in favor of Legion, but once again, the resources are Hellborns. And they're expanding their lead ever so slowly. Which is, like, this is the point in the game where Legion are just about as powerful as they're going to get. Relative to the other team. Because pretty soon we're going to see vestments. I mean, we already see vestments on Bubbles and Moon Queen. But pretty soon we're going to see more vestments on support heroes and higher health totals, and all of a sudden the burst damage just won't mean anything. Shrunken heads, and all of a sudden suddenly Kinesis and Parasite can do nothing. On bot, Curson over here looking to get jumped. There's a portal key and a ton of stuns, and he's just dead. Jade Monkey gets the last hit with the Moonbeam. As Beaky already has a PK, so does Tundra. So plenty of jump potential there. Over here in the middle, Grinix getting jumped, and solo Myrmidon for some reason is here. Oh, sorry, Bubbles was there as well, but he dies. Didn't see him there for some reason. I thought he was there. I'm like, I'm not going to see Myrmidon. But regardless, failed gank there, and they lose 2 heroes as a result. Legion team now going to push in mid, try to take their second tier 1 tower. Hellborn are going to spawn with a bot push for their first tier 2. And mid tower will fall relatively easily. We'll see if they respond to this bot push. Doesn't look like they really are. They're sort of going through the woods here a bit, trying to pick somebody off, but it's not going to happen. There's too much support here from the Legion side and not enough from the Hellborn, or too much support from Hellborn and not enough commitment from Legion. Instead, just going to take their opponent's resources as they farm up the jungle. Ancients being continuously stacked as MQ just very good at that. Over here off to the side, Parasite going to get jumped and easily killed. Kegstun does hit Behemoth, but that's not nearly enough. He will just pour it out. So Hawk spotting Parasite and the double portal keys. Plenty of initiation there, as now we have triple portal keys. Of course, Bubbles does have one, has had one for a bit. MQ now with the Whispering Helm, Firebrand, Energizer, and Ghost Marchers, extremely fast and difficult to kill. Legion side, Pushbook on Kinesis for top grade block of Power Supply and Steam Boots, so he's reasonably tanky, has some solid regen. Engineer mostly just support items. Grinix has Ghost Marchers, an Engineer, Energizer, and a bottle with 1900 gold, so presumably he's going the Shield Breaker route once again. Which makes sense as they do need damage on this Legion side in terms of sustained right-click auto attacks. And not so much on the magical damage side. Codex continuing to be leveled up by Parasite as it's now level 3. And Pesty has his Portal Key, Energizer, Mystic Vestments, and Steam Boots, so he's reasonably tanky at this point and has some solid jump potential. Not nearly as much right-click and burst as he will later in the game, but should be doing fine for now. As I expect both sides to pick up Shrunken Heads relatively fast. Kinesis is invis here, but there's a Rev Ward, so if he comes forward a little bit... Yeah, now they see him. Oh boy, he's dead. Kelfield's done. Now he's out of it. Dust gets popped and he's just screwed. So the counter jump, Pesty actually hitting 4. Riddick's ultimate doing a ton, but there goes the ultimate from everybody. Both Behemoth and Moon Queen putting everything down. Energy gets his, but that's 4 deaths. Now Parasite's in some trouble. Will pick off one more, but he's going to fall as well. So that's a genocide in favor of Hellborn. Murdoch and Moon Queen, the only ones left alive, but those are the two. Or Moon Queen is the important one. Look at that GPM. 500 gold per minute all of a sudden. So Hellborn taking a really solid fight, really destroying that Kinesis before he could do much or anything, and Legion responded fairly well, but their team fight isn't quite as strong as Hellborn's, so weren't really able to turn that into a solid fight for themselves.
The Hellborn have destroyed a Legion tower.
So they lose 5 heroes, Moon Queen gets a bunch of kills and a tower kill. He's now over 500 gold per minute, and good luck, have fun. Takes his own opponent's Ancients now. And continuing to stack his, with that Vagabond leader, obviously. Right next off to the side, there's a Haste Rune, but Moon Queen will grab it. Pestilence in his own jungle with the Flight active, or is it in the opposing jungle, excuse me. MQ's continuing this farm here now. Energizer gets popped, and MQ's in a little bit of trouble. Still has the Haste Rune active, so he might just be able to run. Keltfield gets popped, as well as the Geometer's Bane. He's probably just like, bye. So Keltfield actually wears off, but with the Haste Rune and the Energizer, he's just pretty much alright. Actually, Haste is worn off. Regardless, they attempt to kill MQ there. It won't happen. And he will head down to take those triple stacked Ancients once again. 2 heroes here in the Hellborn jungle and 5 for the Legion. And this, once again, triple stacks. 3,400 gold saved up. I'm assuming the Shrunken Head is the next item, as it will stop a lot of damage here from this Legion side. Certainly has the gold for it now. And there's the Shrunken. So probably going to drop the Vestments, pick up the Shrunken, and say, Parasite, yeah, you pretty much can't do anything to me. And Kinesis, not so powerful anymore. So good luck with that. I mean, Moon Queen's just going to be so damn hard to kill at this point, and she's going to do a ton of damage. She's already hitting quite hard with the Geometer's Bane and the Ghost Marchers, and of course the Lunar Blessing, providing lots of extra bonus damage. On bot, meanwhile, Kinesis is in some trouble. Invis Tundra drops the Avalanche, as well as Behemoth with the Portal Key, an easy kill. So things not looking too great here for Legion.
The Hellborn have
And they
destroyed
take that
a
Hellborn
Legion
bot tower,
tower.
or the Legion bot tower. That will be the last. No, sorry, one more. Top tower actually hasn't even been touched. But it's like, this is the, like I've been saying, you know, this is the point of the game where Legion should be stronger, and Hellborn are clearly showing that they are. It's not Legion that's winning this game, or showing their strength at this point in the game. It's Hellborn, and that's a problem, because this is not going to get better for them. And honestly, at this point, 14k gold, 14k experience, I'm not sure if I see a way out of this for them, besides some pretty massive misplays on the part of Hellborn. If they just like stop warding, or if Moon Queen gets caught out like 8 times, then maybe they can come back. But MQ's at 550 gold per minute, and at this point, like, if you just look at it, even her team is doing fairly well. 280 GPM on Behe, 280 on Tundra, 346 on Bubbles, and 212 on Myrmidon. They're farming decently. Nobody on Legion's over 300 gold per minute. Kongor now going to be attempted, because they're waiting for MQ to come in and bring in all their damage. But they've warded the crap out of this. They have the Tundra Hawk, so they know what's going on. Regen Rune bot for when it's over. Or presumably Behemoth, who's doing most of the tanking here. And this is actually going relatively fast, so MQ going to drop her port here, I suspect, or possibly the Energizer, don't know. And pick up a token. And now she's really going to be impossible to kill.
Hellborn has been slain.
Yeah, there goes the port, and she will be alright. Once again, Ancients are double stacked. I'm going to triple them here in about 15 seconds, and take some more farm. Get her up to 20 or 3,200 gold or so. with that, she should be close to her symbol of rage. So she now has enough for the axe, and will have the rest of it relatively soon, in about a couple of minutes, as her farm continues to explode. So this is going to be a 35-minute Moon Queen with a Shrunken Head, Token, Geometers being symbol of rage, Ghost Marchers, and Energizer. And I honestly wouldn't be surprised if with those items she could kill the entire opposing team by herself. I feel like that's actually possible. They just don't have that much farm. And she's just going to sit here and take this base. She'll take a bunch of damage, put a Moonbeam out, won't care too much. Geometer's main solutions are helping her clean up. Legion's anti-push is not strong. He's going to jump in here onto her, try to burst her down. Not going to be successful so far. Keg goes off. She does, in fact, die. Penguin and Kirsten, though, on the Legion side also drop, as there goes Behemoth, but the rest of the Legion side is retreating. Energizer popped from MQ, and now she's going to put the ultimate down. Engineer going to put his ulti down, but eats all of MQ's ult. Now she has a Shrunken Head up. This is a bot Rax, no question. And more jump here from the Hellborn as the Weed Flow goes down. Doesn't catch anybody. Grenix off to the side. Gets the Rich Stock off, but Kinesis dies to the Moonbeam. And this is a bot Rax. MQ has 5,200 gold. With the Moonbeam there onto Kinesis. Going to try to chase him down. Won't be successful. Parasite's here as well. Throws the Leech out. And Grenix and a Shadow Step in. And now Moon Queen having to drop a bunch of stuff will actually fall here. Myrmidon also going to die, and the rest of the Hellborn team's like, alright, we're done. Okay. MQ died. Oh well, big deal. We got a bot Rax. We'll be fine. And she actually buys back. So, once again, an aggressive buyback here from Moon Queen, but I think as long as she saves that final one, please don't do that. Same thing you did with that Silhouette in game 2. Parasite has taken over the Hawk here, actually. Perhaps looking for a pick on Bubbles. Doesn't really get spotted though. Will be spotted, and then now, wow, quite a bit of burst damage there, and Bubbles falls. Off to the side, jump there onto Tundra, and we're gonna see the fissure in a second. There it is. We'll stop Parasite. Avalanche onto Pesty, and he'll get slowed by the curl. Parasite actually takes over the Hawk, but immediately gets killed, and now he's in a lot of trouble. He gets dropped. So does Tundra, but that's pretty funny. Pesty going to jump right back into the Behemoth, and no mana for this stun, but there's the fissure. Grenix coming in looking for a jump, not going to happen. Behemoth is totally fine. MQ continuing to farm, as she bought something, I guess, Wingbow? No, finished off the Symbol of Rage. And, no, that's for Bubbles. So he's going Hellflower. Perhaps rebought the vestments. No, that's also for Bubbles. As port? Yes, thank you. I knew I'd get it eventually. So MQ continuing to massively increase her farm. 600 gold per minute now. 281 is the leading farmer on the Legion side. And now Hellborn have 4 heroes who are farming better than everybody on the Hellborn on the Legion side. MQ by herself is 2. I mean, I think I'm at this point, we're just waiting for the CC vote. Because Legion are well behind. They've been behind for a long time. They've lost a lane. And they're literally just waiting, I think, on MQ to put them out of their misery, because I cannot imagine this going in another way. Bubbles now has the Hellflower finished. Behemoth went Spell Shards, Push Book. Tundra's got a Shrunken Head of his own. He's looking for, I guess that's going to be a Frostwolf. Can't imagine what else the Mighty Blade would for. I don't think Staff of the Master affects him. So, Ice Brand, not a terrible idea here. Help add some slowing. Grenix Illusions here probably going to get caught by MQ. Actually, they will just despawn. Up top, Pesty throws the bugs out so they know that he's here. Kelfield goes out, and that will catch him. He'll also take the stun, and now he's completely screwed. Takes a bunch of stuns and some burst damage, and he just gets completely locked down and killed. That's going to be Legion's cue to push in. He does not have a buyback. Top tower was already killed, so there's no more outer towers remaining for the Legion side, and this is going to be strong push. As they're going to take this top up over here to the side. Wow! TPS Priceless just picks off Parasite by himself. I assume he dropped the ultimate, yeah. With the spell shard, it's very powerful. Shrunken Head going off from Tundra, puts the Avalanche here onto Engineer. He's going to die. And Grinnick's taking a Moonbeam. He's not going to make it out of here. He has a Shrunken Head up. Riftstock available, actually does live. Shell Surf goes off, and Hellborn's like, alright, that's fine, we can back out of it. Shrunken Head, there's a jump onto Tundra, in fact, with a burst from Parasite, but he's going to be okay for now. Parasite now trying to get out, actually. Kinesis finishes him off, but their Parasite's dead as well. Now Kinesis off to the side, trying to live, it's not going to happen. Gets Hellflowered, and he's just going to get eaten alive. Shrunken Head on Moonqueen wears off, but it's not going to make a difference. So there goes mid tower, and that's the CC vote. So well-played series to both sides. I think Sweet Super Serves had some issues in the end of Game 1 and for most of this game in their decision-making. I just think the lanes for them didn't make a lot of sense. Their drafts were really good until this one. The last pick, Kinesis, made no sense to me. He doesn't seem to fit super well with their lineup. They already had a ton of magical bursts. They didn't need to add that. He doesn't bring anything new to their team. And he prevented them essentially from being able to have a right-click carry, and he screwed with their lanes a little bit. Although, you know, they did that too. Like, their lane decisions were just odd. Regardless, that will be a victory here, both in the game and the series for TKAG, as they take it 2-1. So we'll play to both sides. Very strong series, in fact.